Microsoft's deal to acquire Activision Blizzard has some questioning whether other tech firms will follow suit to get a piece of the metaverse. Yesterday, I spoke to FTC Chair Lina Khan in her first interview about whether big tech could face regulatory scrutiny if they ramped up their M&A strategies.
It's not the job of the enforcers to pick winners and losers, but to ensure that firms are playing fairly. I think whenever you see potential moments of transition, that's when enforcers need to be especially vigilant, because that's when incumbents often panic and realize that to stay relevant, to stay dominant, they may have to engage in tactics that ultimately end up being illegal.
And joining us right now is former White House CTO and current president, Kerry Journey, Anish Chopra, and Chris Kelly is also here, former general counsel and chief privacy officer at Facebook and founder of Kelly Investments. I'm curious about what you thought of her words, but also really how you think this Microsoft, how important this Microsoft Activision deal is in terms of how business leaders and the policy set are going to think about deals in the future, Anish.
Well, number one, I think there should not be any emails from Microsoft discussing anti-competitive behavior. So on a basic level, we want to make sure that there's some scrutiny over how you approach mergers. But there are three things I heard in your interview with Lina yesterday, but also more broadly. One, the FTC is clearly making moves to make a definition of consumer harm to go beyond whether or not you pay for a digital good. And so I think any activity that weakens consumer privacy may be on the docket for evaluation. Two, I think she's made it very clear that the FTC needs to strengthen its deterrence muscle. So while there may not be points on the board in terms of stopping transactions like this, there may be a little bit more active negotiation for merger conditions around areas that could be moving the industry towards a bit more consumer protection. And then three, I think she made it very clear that she's going to look for the data. Is there evidence that even in nascent markets like the metaverse, are there activities that one may deem early enough that could lead to anti-competitive behavior? And that's just suggesting she's going to be looking for, even though it's a relatively new market, opportunities to find pro-competitive actions.
Chris, I agree 100%, having sat at the table with her yesterday, that is going to be the approach, in part because from a deterrence perspective and an efficiency perspective, she suggested she didn't have enough money and resources to actually go effectively to investigate and in some cases either try to break up or other remedies. So she's going to have to try to go for either deterrence or sort of use rhetoric to get companies to behave the way she wants. The question is, will it work, Chris?
I mean, the hardest question for the FTC is what they faced in the Facebook case and quite a number of different cases is market definition at the end of the day. And when you're talking about something that's nascent like the metaverse, who knows what the marketplace really looks like? I think that you'll see a lot of kind of headline assessment based on the size of mergers, based on the price, based on the market cap of the companies that are engaging in it. But ultimately, there's got to be some prediction about the way that markets do look and the way that they should look going forward. And a lot of that is just things we don't know at this point. When you're talking about a fight for consumer eyeballs, the size of the market can be quite different than the way that the FTC has tried to define it in some ways.
And Anish, a judge is going to have to adjudicate these cases, as you know. And I imagine there are going to be judges who are going to say, you know what? The FTC, DOJ in some cases, it can't have a crystal ball. And there's going to have to be weight put against some of these privacy issues versus the price issue, meaning you're going to get something for free, but you're going to give up. I think that it requires a different level of adjudication.
Well, it does, but let me suggest that we should be paying more attention to whether or not Microsoft might willingly agree on certain conditions that convey a bit of a pro-competitive posture. For example, allowing multiple hardware devices to run games, thinking about ways in which there's more interoperability and how and in what manner competitors can operate within a metaverse of company A with products from company B. So there may be opportunities before we get to a judge in a trial to see merger conditions that move the industry forward and set a new foundation. I
agree with that completely. I actually think that you will see a lot of those discussions go on. And I think that you'll see actually probably some proactive discussion of this from the companies where they say, look, if we're uncomfortable with Apple's insistence that you use Apple payment systems through their app store, and we'll proactively promise that we won't do that in a Microsoft Activision Blizzard app store for the next Call of Duty. I think that will be discussed with regulators, and I think it will be discussed by the companies about how they can promote general competition in the marketplace.